All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. This is our Spotlight, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, celebrations on Zoom. This is typically a 90-minute session. Since we are a small group today, we're going to go ahead and tailor that, go over some content, and then possibly wrap up a little bit earlier and be mindful of your time. So again, thank you so much for joining us. So a little bit about myself. My name is Daisy Martinez. I am the Director of Professional Learning here at MindSpark. My email is linked here. Ashford is going to go ahead and type that into the chat. So if you have any questions on any of the content or the implementation, feel free to reach out, kind of email us any questions that you might have. I want to go ahead as well to go over some Zoom norms. So if you can, and if it is available to you, please turn on your camera. If you're having some bad connection, feel free to leave it off. And you have been automatically muted when you logged into this session, but we are a small group. So if you want to ask any questions or add in, feel free to unmute yourself. And again, you can type into the chat as well. So we have a graphic organizer today to help you collect your thoughts. And I'm going to go ahead and type that into the chat. And so once you see that link into the chat, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and click it. It will force you to make a copy. So once you see that and it kind of pops up, you will see this. And once you make your copy, that copy is completely yours. MindSpark doesn't share out any of our decks or our content that is our intellectual property. But these graphic organizers are a good way for you to kind of follow along and see some of the resources that we have listed for you today. All right, so some of the outcomes for today's session is to identify some celebration ideas for you in your learning and teaching setting, which I know in late March, we're kind of getting to that tail end of the school year and we need to kind of liven up some of our Zoom sessions, and I know the kids need it as well. And also create some just for fun opportunities to incorporate in any upcoming lessons. And then as well as use a graphic organizer to capture your thoughts and learning. So here we have MindSpark's cognitive approach to learning and design. And I'm just going to quickly go over this. So we typically start off with a disruption, and this is where, we kind of jump into an activity to help you feel a little bit disrupted, a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Then we coax and ignite new ideas, thoughts, and then give you some time to create and empower you so you feel unleashed to use some of those resources in your setting. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into our first disruption, and that is a game of categories. So this is a really fun thing that the design team here at MindSpark has played before. It's definitely something that I played with my family, and my family consists of, middle schoolers, high schoolers, and they absolutely loved it. It is a great way to kind of start class, get their mind going. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this game, and I'll just give you a couple seconds to go ahead and grab a paper or a pencil, whatever it is that you need to play this game. And thank you, Ashford, for typing into the chat this game. So I'm going to go ahead and display it on my screen, and then we'll kind of go from there. So just Karen, let me know when you are ready, either a thumbs up or type into the chat, and I'll go ahead and start the game. So once you do get into that site that Ashford posted into the chat link, it shows up like this. And so it gives you an opportunity to kind of go through the letters. It lets you pick all of the categories. It does kind of automize it, which is nice. So you don't have to kind of type in any category, but if you do want to, I think there is an option for that. You can also alter the time, and then you could do that by going here and then updating it. All right, so we are going to go ahead and play. Again, you just need a piece of paper and a pen. And once I hit play, the timer is going to start. And then you will have that amount of time to select an item for every category, starting with the letter A. And it seems super simple, but it's always kind of interesting. So let me go ahead and press play. I do see somebody that is just joining us right now. So hi, Miss Otsuki. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'm just going to briefly kind of update you where we are in today's content. So right now we have jumped straight into a disruption, and it is called Scattergory. So if you could kind of go ahead and make sure that you have a pencil, pen, and something to write with and write on. So maybe a notebook or a piece of paper. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hit play, and you all will have 150 seconds to come up with 15 items for each category, starting with the letter A. Oh, Karen, great question. So you are going to do the game that is on my screen. So here on the Zoom screen, I'm going to hit play, and everybody is going to use that same one. That is a great question. All right. Okay. Miss Otsuki, are you ready to go? Just let me know in the chat, and I will go ahead and press play. All right. Okay. So I am hitting play, and we are going based off this screen on my Zoom. Right. So the timer has started. All right, so we did get the message that time is up. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give you about 5 more seconds, make sure that you kind of filled in as many as you could. And I am going to move you all into some breakout rooms and then give you all about 3 minutes to share what you all got. And then I'll bring you back into the main session, and then we'll kind of share out what were some interesting items that you all came up with. So I will see you all in 3. Do we have any questions before we move into those breakout rooms? And yes, I agree. That was so challenging. I think I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total. All right, Ashford, if you could please just transition us into those breakout rooms, and we'll see you all in 3. Hello, welcome back. All right, so we were just mentioning that, just my luck that I got kind of a automated one that has number 12. Typically, it is a very wholesome game. You might have to kind of reset it and kind of play it yourself if you do want to play with students, but out of, I think, 20 plus times that I've played this, that one has never come out. So it's just our luck. But I think as adults, we can think of quite a few words, or at least just one. But I would love to hear, what is an interesting one that you all came up with these categories? Feel free to unmute yourselves and share.
Daisy?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, here, I guess I can undo this. I always put my camera on to help with the bandwidth, but I have a question about the game. Every time you reset it, it goes to a new letter. Does that mean it also resets the questions?
Yes, the categories, yes.
The categories, there you go. And are they all appropriate for, like, I'm kinder through 5th?
It's so funny because I have never seen one like that. And it is, let's see. So if we were to, I want to kind of, I don't want to forget those questions. So if I were to restart it, and I think maybe it's just one of those things that, like, if you see it, which I should have done because I've never kind of like seen one like that, just kind of, oop, we're redoing it. Kind of like that. If you do see something that's kind of like, oops, I don't know. But usually they are really kind of wholesome things, like all of these kind of, does that make sense?
Yes, and so we cannot change it ourselves. We just have to reset it. So just
Yes, And I can show you one thing that might, so to reset it, maybe you want to do with the smaller ones. I know for my family, when I did it with my, I have nieces and nephews that are in 3rd and 4th grade. Every time we did like 15 categories, they would stress out. But we wanted to win, so. But I can do 3 categories. Oh, sorry. I can do 3 categories and then adapt the time as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah.
helpful.
Yes, of course. So it is a really fun resource. Again, super embarrassing that that one came out, but I do want to hear what were some of the things that you all came up with, because, you know, it's quick, it's on your feet. What were some things that you came up with for any of these categories? I know, Ashford, you said Adidas. Is that for footwear?
Yes, for footwear.
Love it. I said Air Force Ones.
We are kind of introduced each other and I didn't talk about what kind of cool word we came up with. We all agreed with Apple for first one, second one. Yeah.
I love that. When for number 2, I put things found in New York. I said apples because I think of like the apple orchids, but I didn't think of Apple the store. Ashford, those are great. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and have us do it one more time, and kind of just to show kind of what Karen was talking about, how you can adapt these categories. So for this next one, we'll do a quick 5 one, but I also want to change the time. So instead of giving us 120, I'll just give us 90 seconds. Let's see if that, okay. So let's see, I hope everybody still has their pens and pencils. I'm sorry, their pens and their writing utensils or writing pads. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and press play. All right, time is up. So now feel free to unmute. What were any of your answers for any of these?
I got everything except for 5. I couldn't
Me
think of
too.
anything. I said Japan, janitors. I said the Judds, but still it's the Judds, and juice.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes. Mine were all Jersey related. So I said Jersey Shore. I said janitors as well. And when you're playing with your students, maybe, you know, your students don't get answers for ones that they have in common with others. So for example, Karen and I wouldn't get janitors because we chose it together. I said JWoww and Snooki. And then things that are cold, I said Jersey City. And then like Karen, I couldn't find anything else. And Miss Otsuki, were there any that were, and were you able to find any for number 5? Joe, GI, Jacksonville. Yes, Karen, I agree. This is for vocabulary production. Also as like kind of like a restart. If we've had kind of just a busy week or kids are kind of already very, you know, on edge and they want to get started, very few last minutes left of class, this is a great activity to kind of just do for fun as well. So I love the connection to vocabulary though. All right, and with that segment, I'm going to go ahead and move us on to kind of that content for today. So that was just a quick fun disruption. Now we're going to move into celebrations, and celebrations are definitely needed this school year because this school year has been tough. It's been different. I actually had a conversation with my niece, and she is currently a middle schooler, and it's tough to start middle school in a virtual setting, especially coming from elementary school where there's a lot of fun that tends to be incorporated, and then we tend to lose it a little bit as we focus into content in middle school and in high school. But celebrations are a great way to incorporate that fun, that carefreeness, that shout outs for one another, and making our students feel seen. So what are some celebrations that you've shared with your class or classes? And that could be perhaps something that you've done this year in total, or maybe in the last month or the last week. So once you kind of have identified those, feel free to type that into the chat, or because we are a small group, feel free to unmute yourself. So what are some celebrations that you've shared with your class or your classes? A Just Dance video dance break. I love that. It gets kids moving. Go Noodle as well as a quick celebration as well. Celebrations don't have to be kind of this very large thing. And I think you will find that some of these resources and ideas of today's content, you'll see of how easy they are to implement. So Karen says, we happy dance, go noodle, and cheer. Yes, all of those things are super important, even in this virtual setting. And I know it's harder to replicate them. All right, so some of the things that, if you're struggling on how to incorporate more or how to make them more of a routine in your classroom, I'm going to go through a couple ideas. So one of them being shout outs. And this is a really great way to get students to feel seen and heard and to feel like their work matters. So oftentimes, especially in the remote setting, when talking to my niece, it felt like her only responsibility was to get the work done. And it didn't matter if she was having a good time. It didn't matter if she was confused or not. She just needed to get the work done. And shout outs are a great way to highlight student work. And that doesn't mean that student work has to be 100% done perfectly. Sometimes it's shouting them out because that they turned it in and they have been really not been consistent in the past with completing their assignments. So giving them shout outs allows for them to feel seen and again heard. And the way that I did this in my classroom is I set this up in Google Classroom once we went fully remote. And so at the beginning of every week, they kind of clicked on a video and they watched to see who got the shout out. And this was made on Screencastify. So I kind of used some weird noise where it was like drum roll, and then it kind of said who got the shout out, and it kind of went over a quick description on why that person got the shout out for the week. And it took me less than 5 minutes to make these videos at the beginning of the week. And they were always for different things. And I made sure, if there were some students that they haven't been doing really well in their quizzes and their tests, that they as well got some shout outs. So this was an example. I taught in Spanish. So this was an example of somebody that had just been showing a lot of effort. And I wanted to highlight that and shout it out. And they knew that all of their peers were also watching the video. Another thing to kind of help with this is recruiting the specials teachers. Perhaps you have a teaching assistant, a para, somebody else that can kind of help with this, especially if you're doing this routinely. It also helps them feel seen and loved and heard from other educators, administrators in the building, and it makes it a little bit easy for you as well. So what are some academic or non-academic shout outs that you can give your class or your classes? Because oftentimes identifying what you're looking for can be the hardest time. So what are some things that come to mind that you can give a shout out? Either it's things that you want kids to be working towards and you want to highlight and give that positive reinforcement, or things that are just going so awesome, but you haven't had the time to really kind of congratulate them and give them a shout out and praise for. So feel free to unmute yourselves or type into the chat. Being a good friend, a helper, showing lots of effort. I love that. Good attendance, asking questions in class, attending tutoring. I love that. And Ms. Otsuki, I love that you said asking questions in class, because that is so hard in any grade level. It is, sometimes they lack that confidence. Sometimes they overthink it, and really shouting them out and kind of highlighting that that was a brave thing to do or a responsible thing to do. I think that that would mean a lot to them to hear that. So thank you all for sharing. And I'm going to go ahead and go into kind of a different type of celebration. So this shout out is something that you could do every day if you'd like. Maybe wrap up your class by giving a quick shout out, possibly having this be a classroom job of, you know, your weekly job assigned to this student is giving the shout out to one student. Or it could be, again, a weekly thing. This is celebration is kind of more as we're heading into the end of the school year. These are the bigger things. So thinking about a virtual talent show. So this is something that when we were in person, kids loved, they looked forward to, they rehearsed. And yes, thank you, Ms. Otsuki or Mayumi. So this is definitely something that kids have been missing, that big camaraderie, being with each other, sitting in an auditorium, which might not be possible for you in your teaching setting and in your school, but it's still completely doable virtually. So this is something that my school and I did. So we kind of created a flyer, let parents know, let the community know that if they wanted to participate in this talent show, all they had to do is submit a picture, submit a quick video, and then there was somebody assigned, and perhaps, you know, maybe you do that just for your class and you recruit some help, or maybe it's a bigger grade level or whole school project. And you kind of put that together, and our principal shared out this link of the virtual talent show, and everybody got to see. And that was another way to really build culture and community during these times when we don't get to be in person. Perhaps, you know, in your school setting, something like this might seem a little hard to do, especially thinking about inviting parents, holding them all in one big room. You know, we're still in a pandemic, so it's a little bit hard to do, but this was actually super helpful. It helped us last year wrap up the year on a really great note. And it really took not a lot of effort because we sent out a Google form, and kids, the older kids kind of just did it themselves. I gave them time in class during our Zoom call if they wanted to upload it together. Maybe we did something as a class, or it also kind of gave parents a way to be involved and let them do family talent as well. And in your graphic organizer, it's listed a couple of resources. So Flipgrid, perhaps you are familiar with. I'm not sure if your district has allowed it. So Flipgrid is just a quick little, it can be an app, but it doesn't have to be. So in my class, we just use the website, and they can take a quick 150-second video of their talent. So maybe their talent is painting, and they use that moment to just kind of show the painting. It's really, for those little ones or the middle school or high school students, it can be kind of awkward for them to film themselves, even though we know that they love to outside of school. But it kind of allows for them to submit it that way. So if your district allows for that, definitely a great resource to use. All right, so what are some things that you can celebrate in your learning setting? So some of the things that have come up is perhaps everybody logging in on time. So we know it's basically April, and attendance has been a struggle across all schools this year. So perhaps the celebration that we focus on is the fact that everybody logged in on time. Perhaps that everybody is just on. It doesn't matter if you were a couple minutes late, maybe, you know, you weren't on yesterday, but the fact that you are on today, we're going to celebrate that. And then there's also some things that students themselves want to celebrate. So being in a virtual setting, it's hard to celebrate birthdays, and as well as to get to know some of the personal achievements that are happening for your students as well. So just a couple things to consider. All right, so now we're going to move into another celebration, and this is, we're kind of going through classroom celebrations, whole school celebrations, big celebrations, and small celebrations. So this is a little bit of a smaller celebration, and there are some really great websites that I've come across that have kind of turned charades and Pictionary into a virtual way. So I'll just kind of walk you all through these websites that are linked in your graphic organizers. So this is the word generator for Pictionary that you can, and this is just another one for Pictionary. So what we're going to do in order to play this virtually is I am going to private chat one of you all. And then once you see that message in the chat and you see that it is only for you, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then you're either going to act it out. You can draw it. So if you still have that paper and pen out, we can definitely do it that way. And then whoever wins it, whoever kind of guesses it wins. And again, this is another brain break activity, another way to wrap up the week. So do we have any questions? Again, I am going to type into the chat the name of the person that is going to act out. And then do not tell us if you have it or what it is. And then everybody else is just going to ask some questions. So it might take us a while to kind of get this down the first time, but that is totally okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. The person already knows what it is. And everybody else, we're just going to guess to see if we can figure out what that person is acting out or is drawing. All right, Karen and Ashford, feel free to jump in.
Putting on and off your mask. No.
Wait, that's correct. Ring, right?
Yes. All right. Yes, Ashford, you guessed it. So you won. So you can do just one word or you can do a phrase. So Ashford, you won. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Ashford. And me, Karen, and Mayumi are going to try our best. And Ashford, if you don't want to turn your camera on, you do not have to. You can just kind of.
All right, I got it. Hang on one sec.
So again, it can be a word that you give the students, or it can be a phrase.
All right, I sent the message. Oh, I see. Okay, you want me to act it out. Okay. Okay, I can do this.
Car.
Driving.
Steering wheel.
Wheel, yes.
All right, we're gonna do it one more time. Thank you, Ashford.
No problem.
All right, and we are ready when you are. And I believe you are on mute. Yes.
Oh,
Perfect.
okay, there we go. This is me. It's like, okay, oh.
Reaching out?
Oh.
Saying hi to a friend.
Oh, there it is. Somebody said it, flagging down a cab.
Yes.
I was trying to whistle. I can't whistle, so. Anyway.
I love it. I love it. Yes, thank you. All right. So yes, that is just another way to kind of make things light and fun. It could also be tied to vocabulary, because I love, Karen, that you made that connection earlier. So it could be an activity that students can practice their vocabulary, practice important concepts, either if that's through math or science or whatever it is that you are currently teaching. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to share two more resources, which again are more game, kind of the celebration type things. And I am going to kind of move you all into some breakout rooms so that you all can kind of look through them, explore them, play with them to see if this is something that might make sense in your room as a celebration. So these are some websites. So this first website is called playingcards.io. So Ashford is going to type that into the chat. It is also linked in your graphic organizer. And I will kind of just walk you all through this website. So once you get here, it is completely free. And it has kind of some selection of some games. So we know that kids are already playing games, and perhaps this can be a reward or a celebration. So perhaps they finished all of their assignments for the week. Maybe you give them access to one of these games. There's also Go Fish, there's Hearts, there's Matchup, and you can also create your own. So I will kind of put you all in some breakout rooms to either test it out by playing with one another or just exploring them. And then the other resource that we have is called Bingo. So this is also one that you can obviously have probably already played, but this is a website that allows you to build bingo cards virtually. And so in this generator, you can kind of watch this video if that's what you want to spend your breakout room time doing. And then you can also kind of look at some templates as well. So you're gonna kind of go through the bingo caller. And then I think you get quite a few, like 30 cards. And I know like after the CMAS, I always looked, CMAS is the state testing that we do here in Colorado. I always looked for activities to do with my kids. So this might be something that you could try out with them. So again, just kind of look through these resources, look to see, kind of do some vetting to see if this is something that your students might be interested in. Also use one another as resources. So I'm sure you all have kind of gotten to know each other a little bit more. So kind of consider, how can you incorporate this as a celebration? Or what ideas do you have? So perhaps you already have a game that is super popular that you may want to share with one another, or perhaps it is a game that you haven't figured out how to make virtual, but your students loved when they were in person. So we're going to go ahead and move into our breakout rooms. We're going to have about 10 minutes. Feel free to try out these websites. If not, that is totally fine. Do we have any questions before we move? Let me check the chat. Before we move into this breakout session. All right, I will see you all. Yes, so sorry, this was the main thing. So once I start this game, I can share this link with other players. And this is a really great thing to do because it's interesting to see it from the student's perspective so that you can see what they see once you share the link. So perhaps you all can kind of play along with each other, or perhaps, you know, this is something that you want to try with a bigger group of friends or your family at home, so you can vet it that way.
So Daisy,
Yes.
I have a question. Are these games, well, I guess it depends on the age of the student.
Yes.
Would you put students in breakout rooms playing these games, or is it something that like, because I'm hybrid, I have some students virtually and some, or I should say remote, and then other students that are in person. So I think
Yes, that is a great question. So as you saw, every link that is created is kind of personalized. So maybe you just have all of them going as at once, and you can kind of see like, oh, we're definitely not going to play that one. That one's a little bit tough. And you can have multiple games going. So, you know, you can kind of keep it controlled in that way. So you have one game of checkers going on, which is going to be partners. And then you have one game of dominoes, which is going to be partners. You have some flashcards, you have some Go Fish. And these are games that you can play with a little bit bigger group of players. Does that answer your question, Karen?
Yes, I'm working through it too. What I was about to type, what is that one? Playing cards, which, oh, there's the link. Okay.
Yes,
I
and
see
it
it
is
now.
also linked in your graphic organizer.
Oh, okay, right there. Thank you.
Yes. Uh-huh. And yeah, I would love some feedback. So if it's something that, you know, you know, if you think, oh, this probably wouldn't work with, you know, my 4th or 5th graders and definitely not with my younger groups, you know, this is maybe just something that they can try on their own, but definitely, you know, I would appreciate that feedback. And then, oh, I see one more question. So can you play games with other students on play cards? I think I might have answered that. Did you, Mayumi, is that question answered?
I think so. I'm gonna try out in breakout room and then see how it
Okay,
goes.
perfect. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what game you all play.
Daisy, I'm sorry to be a troublemaker here, but
no,
I just clicked on the link for the playing cards one, and it's asking for me to sign in. And so I basically have to create an account.
Oh, that
Would
is
you
so
mind,
strange.
that's what it said. It said, sign in to keep
Oh,
track of your rooms. I'd rather not sign up for something right now. Would you
I-
mind, instead of doing a breakout room, could you just do it with us to see if, or can you
yeah, yeah.
show
And
it a little bit more before I sign up for something?
yes, so I have it, I see what you mean here. So sign up and join. So I didn't click that. I just scrolled down. But we can totally do one together and see how that goes. So I will kind of let you all pick. I kind of like Go Fish because that's pretty accessible for most grades. Are we okay with that one?
I might not know how to play. I'll figure it out.
Okay, let's see. I
Yeah.
haven't played Go Fish in a while either. So I'm going to start game and I'm going to share this link with you all. So once you see this into the chat, and that was a great idea. Thank you, Karen. I think definitely might be more helpful this way. So I'm going to go ahead and enter, and I don't know if I will see you all in here.
I got in.
Oh, I see. Yes. Oh, cool. And Karen, were you able to click on the link in the chat? All right. So again, this might be something.
There I am.
that-
I'm just gonna unmute. We're a small group. I think.
Yes, yes, we definitely are. And we're learning together, which is a beautiful thing. All right. So click on cards to flip and drag to move the. Okay. So.
Wait, you.
Are we? How are we
seeing?
seeing? Oh, can y'all see my cards? I'm player one.
I only see it when you flip it over.
Oh. But
How many cards do you have to get first?
Let's do 5.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3.
But you can see your card, I guess. Can
5.
you?
I can't see yours. All right.
But how can we see our cards? I can see Queen of Eight, Queen.
Right, that's mine.
So how do you do
What I
Go
have.
Fish?
Let's
I don't
see.
understand that.
Yeah, this is way harder than I thought.
Oh, got it. Drag your card to the white part on the bottom.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Oh, okay. And they're becoming partners as you put them in.
And
no, they're
I
not.
don't see my card on your shared screen. So
Oh, okay. And then maybe what we can do, okay, so maybe I will go first.
Oh,
If
so this
anybody
is
has a
so
5,
this is okay. So I'm player one. So
Yes.
if it's, let's pretend like, okay, so it's my turn. Can you see my 5 cards?
No. But if
Okay,
once
so
you're ready to share a card, put it in your.
right. So I'm going to ask player 2, do you have any 10s?
no.
There we
Are we
go.
are we trying to do pairs? I forget on Go Fish, is
Yes,
it pairs?
yes.
Okay, well, see, I already have, let me see, I already have, oops. I already have a pair. So now, and so aren't we trying to get pairs and get rid of all our cards?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm player 1, so I'll go player 2. Do you have any 4s?
Go fish.
And you say go fish, and then I pick a card because you didn't have anything, and I flip it over and see if I have any pairs. So now
Right.
it's player 2.
Okay,
Yes, there you go. You got it.
got it. So player 3. Sorry, what's your name again? Player
Daisy.
3.
Mine is Daisy. And
Okay,
we have
Daisy.
Daisy and Karen on the call.
I like your name. Daisy, do you have ace?
No, go fish.
Okay.
And so now it's my turn.
Yes.
And then once we have our own pairs, we can put them.
Like, can you see my 10s? Yeah, there, I see your kings. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll do it like that. Oh, yes, I don't know. I think that's.
Yeah, it says 2, so which means that you can actually see how many cards over there. So I guess you can instantly see who's winning at that moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay, so player 1, do you have any 5s?
Go fish.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to ask player 3. Do you have any 9s?
Player 3? That's
3.
me.
Do you have a
9?
9?
Yes.
Okay, so see, then you put it there, you flip it, I grab it there, flip mine, and take these 2 cards there. Okay.
Yes. And I love that in real time, we are problem solving, we are working collaboratively, we are having fun, and it's not too hard. It took us a minute.
So we can't see each other because we're looking, you gave us the code. I'm going to switch back to Zoom now
Mhm.
because we had to be on the actual link
Mhm.
of the code you gave us. I was on that screen, but I couldn't see you guys on Zoom, but I could hear you because we were all
Yeah.
unmuted. So that's the other troubleshoot, that we have to be so we could be in a breakout room, everybody unmute, take off, you didn't necessarily have to have your camera off, but just your sound, so you could communicate to do that dialogue, asking the players, do you have any 9s, 5s, whatever, and
Exactly.
playing the go fish, but they're seeing the screen. That is
Exactly.
neat.
Yeah, and definitely, like, there are more games that are kind of like this. I did want us to troubleshoot, so that was a great idea for all of us to kind of try together. And I would also, because I taught 4th grade, I would do selective partnering. There are going to be some students that are really going to be like, huh? And then there's some students that can figure it out. And it'll be fun for them regardless. So I do encourage that. I do encourage selective partnering. I encourage kind of going through it together as an example, going through as many games as you want. So this is Go Fish. Like I mentioned, there was quite a few more.
And you did that without logging in, so you don't have to do a sign up. You just scrolled down, and I saw that where you went, and then you just clicked on that particular game.
Exactly. Okay. And that also helps with student privacy as well. So they do not have to create their own accounts either. So yes, so that is just one resource that we have for you all. And kind of a little bit more about the bingo. This is still linked in your graphic organizer. If you want to kind of go back to it and try it on for yourself and see, if this is something that your students might find amusing. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of move through the celebrations so that we kind of go through some times. That was really fun. I'm not gonna lie. I know at MindSpark, what we like to do is we like to have, when we have our staff meetings, we think that games are a really good way to kind of quickly build connection. And I know in school, it's kind of, you have so many priorities. You have to get so much tasks done, but kids are present and engaged when you're playing a game. So that is something to consider. All right, so I'm just going to kind of move us through this content. And I do want to kind of practice what we preach. We always say that kids need breaks. We know that you know, it helps our eyes, it helps our brain, it helps us kind of be more cognitively available when we do have these breaks. So I'm just going to go ahead and lead us into this 10-minute break. So try your hardest to not look at any emails, to not kind of do any work related things, and really take these 10 minutes for yourself, take care of your needs, grab some water. And then we'll kind of go into some just for fun content after the break. So I will see you all in 10. Bye. But like I mentioned earlier, they're very much appreciated. Your body, your mind really appreciates, you know, taking that time for yourselves. So we're going to go ahead and transition into our just for fun content. So the celebration's really focused on, you know, the bigger things in the classroom, or the systems or the routines, possibly, you know, at the end of the week, or maybe, you know, celebrating. It could be any small thing, but, you know, it's tied to some kind of goal that the class might be working towards. But these just for fun activities are a little bit different. So there are ways to kind of help with engagement, which I know has been a struggle for many educators this school year. And it kind of keeps students on their toes, and they're very easy to implement. So I know for my teaching settings, sometimes I would overthink certain things, and, you know, I didn't know if that would be a distraction or if it's worth doing. So here are some ideas and jumping off points that you might want to incorporate into your classroom. So the first one that we have is called Snap Camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through that right now. So let me see into the, yes, Ashford has linked into the chat the website. This one you will have to kind of create your account. It is easier to make than most things. And it kind of just does this fun thing. I'm kind of struggling to find a couple things. Let me look through some. Let's see. So what I'm doing right now is I am on the Snapchat kind of app that gets downloaded onto your camera. It is completely free. And what it does is it gives you, sorry, I had some favorited and now I can't see them. Let's see how they are showing up.
So is this for your phone or for your computer?
It's for your computer. Let me see.
Okay.
How weird is that is so weird. So typically it shows up. What I do on this app shows up on Zoom as well. So I'll just kind of describe it as I'm kind of figuring it out. It's never really given me a trouble. I think I just need to restart it or update it. So what you do is you log into the website that Ashford has posted into the chat. And it kind of just gives you a bunch of different filters. So kids are very much familiar with this. It kind of plays on social media. And if you are kind of teaching the young ones and you're kind of going through the animal kingdom, or you're kind of going through the animal unit, or anything that kind of would help to make that lesson a little bit more engaging, then you would look through this app and you would kind of find, for example, there's a deer one, and my kids and I loved books about certain animals. And so what you could do is you could do a virtual read aloud and then use that filter. And they just think it is so silly and so funny. And then you kind of just can do that with your lesson. And we had a panel at the beginning of the school year, and an educator shared about, you know, how much their students love when their teacher uses this, because it kind of makes things a little bit more entertaining. And the educator kind of just used them randomly, and sporadically. So you never really knew when he was gonna use it. I'm really trying my hardest to get this to work. So let me that is so weird. It usually, I think I just need to update it. So I have linked into your graphic organizer a tutorial on how to do it. And in that tutorial, you will see that I can also, once I downloaded it, it was super quick and simple. It does have to be downloaded onto your computer. So maybe, you know, if that's not something that is available through your district, but let me kind of look through the tutorial. I'm going to quickly, once you do that, it kind of lets you try on these fun filters, and it also works in Google Meet. So you can have these filters. Again, the little ones love this. The high schoolers think it is so random. It kind of just makes a lesson a little bit more engaging. As soon as I opened the app, it did say that I had to update, which I did not expect. So I think that is why it's giving me such a hard time today. So this YouTube tutorial that I've kind of linked on your graphic organizer can help kind of trouble set if that does come up with for you. I just should have updated my application here on my MacBook. But yes, that is just another fun thing that, you know, doesn't need to be justified. It's something that kids will just find random, engaging, and entertaining. And thank you, Ashford, for linking the tutorial into the chat. All right, so another kind of just for fun thing that can work alongside as kind of engagement tool, but also to check to see if students are paying attention, which is really hard to do and really hard to gauge while on Zoom. So again, we had a panel at the beginning of the year, and a panelist named Devin Rankin. So he played this game with his students. So on the Zoom call, he would start off his lesson and say, count how many times I say, and it would be just the silliest word. It could be duck. And so as he's going through his lesson, he's kind of walking them through the scientific method, he'll just randomly add the word duck. And students that are super competitive, they love this because it kind of gives them an opportunity to win. And you're not really kind of incorporating it. If you remember, you say it. And maybe it's a lesson where you only say it one time, but those kids will be listening in and they'll be wanting to be the ones that win for that day. And again, you do have to announce it beforehand and kind of prep them. If you want to tie in some kind of reward towards it, you can, but sometimes just having a quick game, and it kind of gives those competitive kids, again, an outlet to win at something. And it also lets you know who was paying attention, who was, you know, on task that day. So I just call this game count how many times I say, and then you kind of fill it in with the word that you want to say. Devin did a really good example of saying he said the word partition, which a lot of his kids had never heard of before. So every time they heard it, they were like, oh, I've never heard that word. And it kind of helped them remember or like hear it a little bit clearly. But yes, it does keep kids a little bit more engaged, and it's not a lot of work on the teacher's end. So we know with these engagement tools that we see, they kind of require a lot for teachers, but this is just a really simple one that you can implement. So we have another way of kind of doing just for fun activities is brain breaks, which I know both of you have mentioned that this is something that you implement and see the importance of. So we did a brain break earlier, but another way to incorporate or kind of switch up a brain break is maybe you kind of stop the lesson, you notice kids are off task, or you notice, you know, it's after lunch, it's so hard to get kids back kind of engaged as they were. So maybe you have a brain break or like a reset button of having kids draw for 5 minutes without stopping. And then you kind of do a quick share around, everybody share your drawing. All right, okay, back to the lesson. And these are just little pockets of fun that kids appreciate. And I think we all appreciate as well. So this is just an example of just draw for 5 minutes without stopping, or draw without picking up your pencil, or, you know, something along those lines, or draw only using 2 colors or 3 colors. My kids always call that the 3 color challenge because everything was a challenge. And then another example of how to kind of switch up your brain breaks is,
Daisy? Oh,
yes.
oh, I'm sorry. Where did you get, or did you make those, your brain break images and the one
Yeah.
for us with the timer and the little, I guess, what was that? A little GIF that was
Mhm.
dancing eyes or whatever. Where did you
Yeah.
get those? Or
Yeah, that is a great question. So yes, Mayumi says Jiffy is a good one. I will kind of walk you all through this because I just think it is the most fascinating thing. So let's say I want to look up moving eyes GIF. So I just kind of type that into Google, hope for the best. I know some crazy things sometimes come up. So if I kind of like how this looks, I like the aesthetic, I think it will kind of help my students, my visual learners with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here, and then instead of copy image, I'm going to say copy image address. And then when I go to my deck, I'll stop sharing. And then I can go to image. And then I'm going to do it by URL instead of uploading, instead of doing the drive or photos. This is the way I do it. I'm sure that there's a lot of different ways to do it. And then it inserts like this. And you can move it around. And then to add the video, you can also look, let's see, insert video. And this one I think is the easiest one. So I always just search because Google and YouTube are part of Google Suite. I just type in 10-minute timer and it inserts it into my deck kind of perfectly. So yeah, those are some, I feel like that is also a great tip to share in case you might not have been familiar with that. But again, these are some brain breaks so that you can.
that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. These brain breaks, I think, they're so necessary, but they can often kind of just end up being the exact same. And it might help to switch some things out. So again, you could try drawing for 5 minutes without stopping, without picking your pencil up, only using 2 or 3 colors. And then this is another interesting way to kind of get a different part of your kids' brains working. So maybe you give them, that 5-minute break, 10-minute break, but during that time you give them a thinking job or a task. And again, that could be tied to the lesson, but another way to switch things up and make it just for fun or kind of random and engaging is having them practice signing their name in American Sign Language. And that is something that they are doing as independent learners. You can just kind of show some images, make them watch a video the first time, and then they just kind of get to do it on their own. Or you can just leave that, you can make this image really big and leave it on there for them. And then, while they're taking their break, they at least have a thinking job that they might not have expected to have a thinking job like this, which is pretty interesting. And I have linked into your graphic organizer the image if you would like to use it yourself. And it is a little bit bigger, so you can just kind of put the image there and have them practice. Kids really like these random activities. I tried my best to kind of put myself into the mindset of a young student and what they might think is interesting. All right, so let me go ahead. So now I have, as we're thinking about just for fun, we're also thinking about engagement. And this is a game that we love to do at MindSpark. It is called the counting game, and it is super simple, but it gets a little bit hard. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to get on gallery view, and I do recommend that everybody on the call gets on gallery view, and one person starts counting, and then you kind of keep going from that. So I will start it off, I'll say 1, then Mayumi says 2, and then Ashford says 3. But as soon as somebody says the same number together, we have to start from the very beginning. And it seems super simple. We're a smaller group, so it might kind of help us in this way, but I have not gotten past 20. So I guess I challenge us to kind of get to 20. So let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Okay. And let me get on gallery view. All right, and I can start us off, and then from there, it's anybody's kind of turn. So 1,
2,
imagine in a bigger group, it gets so hard. All right, 1,
2,
3.
3. Oh,
Okay, I'll let somebody else start.
okay.
1.
Oh. I just okay. I said
Get past 2.
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11,
12,
13,
14,
okay.
15,
16,
17,
18,
19,
20,
21,
22,
23,
24,
25,
26,
27,
28,
29,
30,
31,
32,
33,
34.
35,
36.
37.
Oh, no.
Yes, okay. I figured that we were gonna, the odds were in our favor. Yes, but we
I think that would be very hard. I can tell right now that would be so hard for the little ones.
Oh, I know. And then maybe it's something like last time we only got to 5. Let's try again. It's kind of one of those games that it might just be funner with a bigger group.
Yeah. Yeah. On Zoom, I have so many kids that talk at the same time. It'd be a nice way to practice and just like taking turns to kind of anticipate who goes
Absolutely.
next.
And I think it's been framed also as like, I haven't heard from so-and-so and they didn't play the game. Maybe they're not as connected or as engaged as I thought that they were. So it's just a fun way to kind of another reset button. All right, so all right, so we have another one that I'm just gonna kind of talk us through. It is super interesting. I have seen it done on Zoom, but it is called the mirroring activity. And so the way that you would do that is like you could do that while you're sitting, you could do that while standing up, is you can either start it off, or if there's a student that you know would really love this opportunity to show creativity, is you kind of just have them be the person and everybody else is following along. Ideally, people have their cameras on, and so you just have them kind of make a certain movement and everybody's following along. And the little ones in particularly really love this. For the older ones, maybe they get to show off a trick that they have, a TikTok dance that they may want to share. But again, this is another way to kind of reset the button. So the way that we do this is we either stand up, we sit down, we just kind of walk the whole group through a group of motions of things we want to do. We kind of ask them to follow along. And again, the little ones love this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move back into the breakout rooms. I will give you all some time to just kind of chat with one another. It's interesting to see kind of the progression that we have here. So Mayumi, you are with high schoolers, and Karen, you are with the little ones. So I'm interested to hear, how can you incorporate some fun into your learning setting? And, perhaps these spark some ideas. Maybe, these resources or ideas weren't necessarily super relevant or applicable to your classroom, but perhaps there's some things that, you've started thinking about what you can do. So we're going to go ahead and move into those breakout rooms for 10 minutes. And then I'd love to hear from you all when you come back. Do we have any questions before we move into those rooms? All right, thank you so much. To get the snap camera to work. So the way that you do it is you're going to go over, once you have the app, you're going to go over to your, where it has the camera, like the stop video or start video. You're going to go down from your kind of camera setting to the snap camera setting. So I can turn that on and off. And it just kind of, if you're reading a book, if you're reading like Charlotte's Web, and then you read it with this camera or with this filter, it just kind of makes it more engaging. And I'll just kind of, now that I figured it out, I kind of want to go through some filters with you all. So you can also be a cartoon, which makes it so much more entertaining. And they're like, whoa, why are you doing that? Or you can be a baby. There's a lot of filters to choose from. What I like to do is I just like to pick my favorite so that I'm not on here for hours and hours kind of looking through all of the different types of crazy filters that are on here. I just will show you this one. Maybe you have, oh, actually there's also this. There's just so many that you can just kind of take on or off, or yeah, kind of the random things, I think. Yeah. So Mayumi says, my students will stay focused just to look at me. Absolutely. And that is the goal. You kind of have to make a fool of yourself a little bit. So let me take this off. Let's see. And again, you can just take it on and off. It's not, you're not going to be tied to it the entire time. It's super awesome, just like a filter. And it kind of also lets you know who's on task, who's engaged, who's paying attention. So yes, that video, that tutorial is linked in your graphic organizer. If you, now that you saw it, you kind of see how simple it can be to use. That may be something worth looking into. But I'm really curious to hear what you all discussed in your breakout room. So how can you incorporate some fun into your learning setting this year?
I'm going to try that, the filter. And now that I saw you do it, I'm even more anxious about trying it. And the other thing was, I loved the categories.
Yeah.
I think that is so neat. And I'm also I was thinking about the bingo. Is it just numbers, or can I configure it the way I want to? Because I was thinking of like maybe using high frequency words or letters, alphabet letters for the younger ones, and we could play that way.
Yeah, that is a really good point. So MindSpire kind of has their own template. So if you fill out the form today at the end of the evaluation form, I will have your email address and I'll make a note to kind of email you that template. So that might be something that might be a little bit easier for you. You will have to kind of replicate them and make them yourself, which is a little bit tedious of like how many cards you want to have. But maybe if you have a small group, you only have to make a couple cards. But yes, I can share with you that template.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I'm gonna definitely need to learn how to use a snap camera. That was just so fun. And I actually wanna rethink my brain break time to use that specific time strategically, as well as having students to slow down but do some random fun stuff so that they have something to look forward to, because they disappear in the middle of the class. My class is 90 minutes long, and high school kids just join Zoom and then they disappear. So,
Yes, yes, and I love that. And I love that, you know, starting by incorporating things in areas of your day that kind of make sense. So if you only have 90 minutes, you do have to be very careful with how you spend that time. So in those brain breaks, those are great ways to kind of try out some of these fun things. So I really am looking forward to how that implementation goes. I think the Snap camera, I think the little ones are gonna love it. I think even the high schoolers are gonna love it as well. All right, so I do wanna kind of get you all out of here on time with a little bit more time in your days. And we kind of just did go through this connection circle of how you all will start incorporating that just for fun elements, the celebrations, to wrap up the year and to keep students engaged. So thank you all for sharing and for kind of being open and receptive to these things. But Ashford has just put into the chat our feedback and evaluation form. So I will just kind of walk you all through how to do that. So I'm gonna, once you see that hyperlink in the chat, this bit.ly, you're gonna go ahead and type that in, and I'll just kind of model for you all how to complete this. So I was your facilitator today. My name is Daisy. Ashford was on the call today supporting us. So just let us know how you felt about this training. What were some highlights? I'll just do a quick test. And then, you know, any feedback that would kind of allow, I was about to put in a formula. So test or any suggestions, especially because both of you bring in the wealth of knowledge of teaching two very different group of students. I would appreciate that. And then once you submit this first purple form, please do not exit out. After you submit, you will see this form right here. So go ahead and click on that. And this is how we capture your attendance. So I will go ahead and send you all a certificate of completion for the entire 90 minutes that you all can use. And it'll also kind of let me have your email addresses to send that certificate, and as well as Karen to get that template for you. And then the session is can't stop. Oops, sorry. Won't stop. Celebrations on Zoom. And I'm going to type that also into the chat so you can just copy and paste. And again, you could just put your information. Oh, actually, it doesn't ask for the phone number. That's not mandatory. And then again, I was your facilitator. Ashford as well was on the call supporting us. And then submit, and then you are all done for today. I hope that you enjoy the extra 15 minutes of your day. Again, I really do appreciate your feedback. It's how we're able to kind of grow and adapt and evolve our programming. And I will stay on for about another, about 5 minutes or so if you have any questions. But thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful night. I hope you and your students kind of get to share in some of these just for fun, these celebrations. And we hope to see you in any future programming.